At the end of the Cold War, the United States Navy wanted something bold. They dreamed of a new class of destroyer that would outsmart enemy radars and strike deep inland. These warships would sneak close to shore, support Marines storming the beach, and launch powerful attacks on land targets. In the early 1990s, this idea became known as the DD-21 program, which later turned into the Zumwalt-class destroyer. The Navy didn't just want a handful of ships. The first plan was to build 32 Zumwalt-class destroyers. These would be the most advanced surface warships ever. They would replace aging ships and help the United States stay ahead of rivals. Navy planners talked about electric motors, strange shapes, and guns that could fire farther than ever before. This plan was ambitious. It aimed to combine new technologies and ideas into one powerful package. The Navy hoped the Zumwalt would make other warships look old-fashioned. Many experts and politicians were excited by the possibilities. But, bold dreams can face tough realities. Turning a futuristic plan into real ships is never easy. The Zumwalt story shows how high hopes can run into big problems. The Zumwalt-class destroyer was unlike any ship built before. Its most striking feature was its stealthy design. The hull and superstructure had strange, sloping angles. These shapes helped scatter radar waves, making the ship appear tiny or even invisible to enemy radars. To the naked eye, it looked like something from a science fiction movie. Inside, the Zumwalt had a power system more like a power plant than a ship. It used electricity to run almost everything on board. This all-electric design was supposed to make the ship quieter, more efficient, and ready for future weapons like lasers or railguns. No other Navy ship had this much electric power. The Zumwalt's main weapons were also new. It carried two huge, advanced gun systems, able to launch special shells over 60 miles inland. These guns were meant to support Marines and soldiers on the ground. Along with these, the ship packed dozens of missile launchers hidden under its deck. Everything about the Zumwalt was experimental. From sensors to engines, it was a mix of the latest and most advanced Navy technology. It promised a leap forward in naval warfare, if everything worked as planned. Building the Zumwalt-class turned out to be much harder and more expensive than expected. Early estimates said each ship would cost about $1.3 billion, but as the first ship was built, the price tag soared. By the time the Zumwalt was launched, each ship cost over $4 billion, not counting research and development. As costs rose, the Navy had to make tough choices. Congress and military leaders questioned if so many ships were really needed, especially when pintaoy. Shippers sorry no, and so expensive, and the plan for 32 ships was first cut to 24, then it dropped to 7, and finally, only 3 Zumwalt-class destroyers would be built. One big reason for this change was the ship's main guns. The advanced gun system was designed to fire a special shell called the Long-Range Land Attack Projectile. But as fewer ships were built, the shells became more expensive. Eventually, each shell would cost almost $1 million, too much for regular use. With no affordable ammo, the guns became almost useless. Trying to add so much new technology at once also drove up the cost. Each new system meant more risk, more testing, and more delays. In the end, the Zumwalt became too expensive to build in large numbers. The world was changing while the Zumwalt was being designed and built. In the 1990s, the Navy expected to fight close to enemy shores and support ground troops, but as the years passed, new threats appeared. Rival navies grew stronger and missile technology improved. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan showed that big, expensive ships might not always be the answer. As the Zumwalt's numbers dropped, the Navy wondered if its original land attack mission still made sense. The main guns were nearly useless without affordable ammunition. Other ships, like the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, were being upgraded with better missiles and radars. These older ships were cheaper and easier to build. The Zumwalt's role became unclear. It was built for shore bombardment, but that mission was fading. The Navy tried to find new uses for the ship. Ideas included using it for anti-air warfare, hunting submarines, or command and control tasks. None of these missions fit the Zumwalt perfectly. This confusion hurt the program. A ship without a clear mission is hard to support. As other priorities took over, the Zumwalt's future looked uncertain. The Zumwalt was packed with new technology, and well, that meant technical problems. The ship's engines and electric power system were unlike anything used before. On its first sea trials, the Zumwalt suffered a major breakdown in the Panama Canal, leaving it stranded and needing repairs. Other systems also struggled. The ship's radar and sensors needed constant tweaks. The strange, stealthy hull was hard to build and maintain. Even the elevators that moved missiles and supplies had problems working right. Crew training took longer, as sailors had to learn unfamiliar systems. When a ship is filled with new ideas, small failures add up. A warship must be reliable in combat and at sea. The Zumwalt's early problems made the Navy and Congress worry about whether it could be trusted in a real fight. Fixing these issues took time and money. Every problem delayed the ship's arrival and pushed the costs even higher. Some experts warned that putting too many new technologies on one ship was a recipe for trouble. Despite all the trouble, the Zumwalt's stealth technology actually worked. The ship's unusual shape and special materials made it hard to spot on enemy radar. Tests showed that the Zumwalt appeared as small as a fishing boat to radar systems. In that sense, the Navy's dream of a stealth destroyer was real. The main issues were not with stealth, but with everything else. The guns were useless without affordable shells. The engines and electric drive were complicated and sometimes unreliable. The price per ship was too high for the Navy to buy many. Stealth alone could not save the Zumwalt program. A warship must be useful in real missions. It needs weapons that work, systems that last, and a purpose that matches the world's needs. Stealth was only one piece of the puzzle. In the end, the Zumwalt's stealth was a success, but it was surrounded by failures. Future warships may borrow this technology, but they must avoid the same mistakes with cost and complexity. Today, the Navy is trying to give the Zumwalt-class a new life. Since the main guns are no longer useful, the ships are being refitted to carry hypersonic missiles. These are new weapons that travel more than 5 times the speed of sound. They can hit targets hundreds of miles away before the enemy can react. To make this work, the Navy is removing the big gun turrets and installing special missile launchers. The Zumwalt's powerful electric system and spacey design make it a good platform for these high-tech weapons. If successful, the Zumwalt could become the first United States surface ship to launch hypersonic missiles. This gives the Zumwalt a new mission. Instead of supporting ground troops, it could strike high-value targets from far away. Hypersonic missiles may help the ship stay useful as threats change. The Navy hopes this change will make the Zumwalt more valuable and justify its high cost. But the future is still uncertain. Hypersonic technology is new and expensive. It will take more testing before the Zumwalt can use these weapons in combat. The Zumwalt's story is full of lessons for the Navy and military planners. The first lesson is not to combine too many new technologies at once. Each new system adds risk and makes the ship harder to build and maintain. Future projects must balance innovation with reliability. Another lesson is about cost. When fewer ships are built, the price per ship rises fast. Building lots of ships spreads the cost of research and parts. Small numbers mean each ship is much more expensive, sometimes too expensive to justify. Weapons must match future needs. The Zumwalt's main guns were designed for a mission that faded away. War is always changing, so new ships must be flexible. The Navy must guess what kinds of fights it may face in the future, and be ready to change plans if the world changes first. Finally, innovation brings problems as well as progress. The Zumwalt's stealth worked, but many other things did not. The Navy must be careful with new ideas and test them well before putting them on every ship. The Zumwalt-class destroyers were supposed to be the future of the Navy. Instead, they became a lesson in the dangers of too much ambition. Only 3 were built, but they showed what is possible and what can go wrong when trying to leap forward too fast. Today, the Navy is trying to use the Zumwalt's strengths in new ways. Its stealthy shape and powerful electric system may guide the design of future warships. Lessons learned from its failures will help avoid the same mistakes next time. The Zumwalt is now a test bed for hypersonic missiles and other new technologies. The ship's story reminds us that not every bold idea works out as planned, but even failures can teach us something valuable. The future of naval warfare will always need new ideas, but also careful planning and a clear mission. In the end, the Zumwalt did not change the Navy overnight. But its journey from dream to reality, with all the struggles along the way, will shape the next generation of warships for years to come.